We're unplugged. Hey guys, welcome to the Church Media Guy Show. If this is your first time here and you want to learn how to use and exploit media and technology so that you can take the gospel to the world, then you can start now by clicking the subscribe button and ringing that bell so that you can be notified and not miss a thing that is happening on here. With me as always, sitting right on that side, Justin. See him right there with the hat on?
What's going on, guys? What's going on, everyone watching? We have a really good turnout. Apparently, people don't want to hear us talk about media for one more second because we got Pete, Chris, Tom, Jordan, James. Let me scroll down. I think there was one more. Brian, John, all you guys, welcome to the live show. Welcome if you're watching the recording. And question of the day: What's your biggest curiosity about me and Dave? Because today we're not talking so much about media. We're just going to free flow it because there's some things that I think we need to get off our chest. And there's some questions that people have asked us that are personal questions. We can't really work into a show. And so question of the day, comment down below. We'll answer you. What's your biggest curiosity about me and Dave?
Yeah. What do you want to know?
What do you want to know? So first of all, people in chat are wondering why I'm wearing a hat.
Yeah.
The hair is so iconic. And if you missed the live show, I showed you what my hair looks like when it's not done. Two things. Number one, I had to give my dogs an emergency bath yesterday because they came in all muddy. Even after I wiped them off, still tracking mud all in the house. So I had to give them an emergency bath. We have like a stand-up shower with a disconnecting thing. Still got my hair all messed up. So I didn't really do it because I was like, I'm going to the gym tomorrow. And then I ended up being held up at the gym by 20 minutes today.
Yeah, what was that about?
So I'm running. It's a long story. So I'm running late and I don't have time to do it up. And I thought, well, you know what? The Astros made the playoffs. They start playoff contention Friday. So why not throw on my Astros hat, go Stros, and let's do it again. Two World Series. Let's get it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wearing a hat today. It's totally off brand, but I actually did a LinkedIn video. If you don't follow me on LinkedIn, find me Justin Nava, because my hair was so long. It was so bad. And I had to do a video that day because I promised myself I would do a video. So I just threw on a hat and I said, hey, content's hard. It may not always be the quality you want it to be, but put it out there. And it got like 120 views or something like that in a day. So
that's good.
For being off brand, let's go. Let's do it.
Okay, so when you were putting your hat back on, you like put it on and then you like crammed all your hair over and stuff. I put my hat on like I slick my hair back and then stick it on the forehead and then sort of pull it back so that everything, kind of stays contained.
I don't do that. And I'm not going to take my hat off because I promised only the live streamers could see it. So, but I put it on and then I flip my hair over almost like a side part.
Yeah.
That way, if I have to take it off, I'm old school. I walk into a sanctuary, I take my hat off. If I walk into a classroom or somewhere where there's an American flag, I take my hat off.
Sure.
Or if we're praying before a meal, I take my hat off. And so if I push it to the side and I take my hat off, it almost looks like a side part, kind of like my dad's haircut. So I'd rather that than flip it back and then I take it off and I look like a baseball player and his hair's all, La Piña, go Stros. And it's all crazy. So that's why I kind of flip it over to the side.
I can understand that.
I can pull it off in case I ever have to take my hat off. I'm old school, man. Some people talk to me and they're like, typically I'll talk to pastors over the phone. And if they want to have another conversation or a coaching, I'll get on a Zoom call with them. And they get on the Zoom call and they say, I had no idea you were 30 years old. I thought you were 50 by how you talk. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a little weird that way.
Yeah, born in the wrong
thing I don't
century.
do is watch CBS.
Yeah.
That's the only, all the NCISs and the CSIs, I don't watch all those.
You have no depth to you whatsoever.
Nope, absolutely not. I like to watch challenging TV shows.
That's
like my current Netflix binging is Doomsday Preppers.
Is what? Doomsday Preppers?
Doomsday Preppers.
Nice.
Yeah. What are you watching on Netflix or anywhere?
Speaking of Doomsday Preppers, this episode is brought to you by My Patriot Supply. Just go to no. We should get them as a sponsor. That'd be awesome. What are we watching? Oh, we're still going through Supernatural. That's our go-to right now. We're in season 12, I think, of Supernatural. With Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki. It's that CW show about guys that fight monsters. It's a good series, really is.
Everyone
their theology is nothing. It is not good at all.
Yeah,
Okay?
don't they have Lucifer on the show? He
Yeah,
just
yeah,
came
I know
in, like,
Lucifer.
later in
Yeah,
the seasons.
yeah, Lucifer's there,
No,
and
everyone in my last office job watched it,
yeah,
and I'm not one to jump in late. I will jump in maybe 3 seasons late,
hmm
but if I've missed it for the last 4 seasons, it's too far gone for me. And
yeah.
the fact
But
that they're on season 12 or whatever,
that's
I'm
no. They're
that way.
finishing season 15 and is their last one. That should tell
Yeah,
you something. You know, it's it's
that
it,
I mean,
it's like
that's yeah.
Buffy. You know, it's like okay, they went this long.
I
There's a
couldn't get into
reason they
Buffy.
went this long.
I
So
couldn't get it. That was Joss Whedon, right?
yeah.
Did Buffy? I couldn't get into it.
Did you
Yeah,
did you
it's-
did you watch what was the one about Superman when he's a kid? Smallville. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't watch that. No.
Yeah, that was another one that went 15, 16 seasons or something like that. Pretty big. This one's pretty big. And it's actually really good. I mean, there's a it is Monster of the Week, but there is this story arc. There's a very large story arc, and then inside each season, in between the Monsters of the Week, and sort of interwoven with them is another. There's arclets in this
Yeah.
big story arc. Anyway, it's really good. If you guys are watching
See,
Supernatural, have seen it, let us know what y'all think in the chat, in the speak up.
see, I'm very how would I say? I'm very walk on eggshells with that overarching thing and the Monster of the Week in between.
Mhm.
There's something that rubs me the wrong way about it, because one show that I loved that abused that was The Blacklist with James Spader.
Oh God, love that
He was
show.
on NBC. So
Yeah, I
I
love
enjoyed
Spader.
the show because the first episode really piqued that curiosity of who is this guy? How is he related to the girl? And then you find out her husband's a secret spy or something like that. I only watched a season, maybe a season and a half. And you get really curiosity. You really get your curiosity piqued. And then it's just Monster of the Week with a little 2-second teaser at the very end of that overarching thing.
Yeah.
And you got to wait so long before that actually, the part that you actually care about,
Right.
pays off. And the Monster of the Week, they got better at it towards the end of the first season where they came back and had a difference. But I don't know. I want more of that overarching, to come back. And I guess that's why I enjoy Netflix. I mean, you could have a show on Netflix and a show on network television, and I'll say, I know the Netflix show is going to be better because they don't have to do Monster of the Week to fill in 26
Right.
weeks.
Right.
You know what
No.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
It works for comedies, right? Because comedies can just have an episode about nothing.
hmm
Dramas, you can't do that. You got to have something there. And when it's just Monster of the Week, I get bored with it so easily. There's the show with Kobe Smulders coming out. I don't know what channel it's on.
They just got a whole bunch of Emmys, didn't they? Did they just win all the Emmys?
I don't know. It just came out. I can't imagine that.
Oh, okay. All right, maybe not. It's a CBS show, isn't it?
Stumptown. It's on ABC. Stumptown.
Yeah.
I
Stumptown
would
got a whole bunch of stuff. I think it's been out.
my dad said oh, that looks like a good show, and it's like coming on ABC, and I said, yeah, I would totally watch that if it was on Netflix, but knowing it's on network TV, I just feel like it's going to miss a couple things that they could have done, a couple of risks, but they got to play it safe because it's network television.
Yeah.
Very few shows that I found do really well on network television. So of course we have our classic Seinfeld, Office, for me, How I Met Your Mother, Community, Parks and Rec. Currently, Brooklyn Nine-Nine was fantastic. What's Goldbergs? The Goldbergs is great.
Oh, Goldbergs.
I'm someone that didn't grow up in the 80s, but I still love that show. And a little bit of Superstore. Superstore's kind of hit and miss. But it's very hard for me to get into network TV because it's very paint by numbers.
Yeah.
And very Monster of the Week. And I don't really like that. I like, even if I do have to wait a week in between, the HBO shows, they're still good because they're not Monster of the Week. So that's a little bit about me. Chris asked a question, and then Pete, I want to make sure, Pete, you stick around because Pete wants to know, how did we meet? But first, what podcast does that remind you of? But first, Chris said, why am I using AirPods? Because we started the live stream, and then I had to go get my AirPods.
Mhm.
And then I was complaining about the battery because they're 2 years old and the battery's starting to die. And Chris said something about why waste money on AirPods when you can get good ones for a lot cheaper. My wireless earbuds has the option to switch over to wires if I want. For me, and maybe y'all can help me with this. So I use AirPods for two reasons and two reasons only. Number
'Cause
one,
he's a fanboy.
I'm not a fanboy,
It's
but
got an apple with a bite taken out of it. I have to use it.
I live in an Apple ecosystem.
Mhm.
Okay. If I could do it all over again, I'd probably want to try again. But my wife is sold on Apple. She will never do anything but Apple. My Mac, I'm here with Macs because they're easier to be creative on. So I'm here on Macs. Therefore, it's also easier for me to be on iPad and iPhone. And the reason that I have AirPods versus any other wireless ones, despite the limits or the cost, is because it works so well in the ecosystem. So number one, what I need in a wireless headset is, number one, I need to be able to do one ear at a time, because I listen to I have my AirPods in probably 4 hours a day. When I'm cooking, when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm folding laundry, when I'm cleaning, even sometimes if it's been a hard day, I'll even have one AirPod in when I'm taking my daughter home from school and she's not talkative. I'll be listening to a podcast in one of my AirPods, so I can have the other ear open when I'm doing those activities to hear if someone calls for me, or if the dogs start barking, or if Alexa yells at me that there's a package on the door. I don't live in the greatest neighborhood anymore, so I want to make sure that I hear my environment. So I want to have a headset where I can have just one ear in, and I can quickly switch them if I need to. So if the battery goes dead, or I like to do conversations in my right ear, and I like to do background environment noise in my left ear. So if I'm listening to music, I'll do it in my left ear, or if I'm listening to a podcast, I'll do it in my right ear. But if I'm on the phone with you, or right now having a conversation with you, I listen better through my right ear, which is actually the opposite of what I've heard it's supposed to be. But anyways, so I need to be able to switch ears on command. So I can do that really quickly, but also fast switching between devices. So I will be here with you on the Mac, right? On my right AirPod.
Mhm.
But then I'm going to pick up my left AirPod. It's going to connect to my phone because it's still connected to my phone. So I can take it with me when I go to the store, and I can listen to a podcast while I'm shopping or something like that. And then when I get home, while I'm unpacking groceries, I can put YouTube on my iPad, and I can just tell my iPad, now you're playing on my AirPods. And it's so fast, right? All I have to do is sit down and click on the this guy here, and I can show you my notifications. All I have to do is I have to sit down, click on, I don't know if you can see it, this guy here, and just say play on my AirPods, and it's just quick. Everything else that I've had, I have to go through the Bluetooth menu, and then it's got to sit there for 10 seconds to connect, and then I can start doing. No, AirPods are so fast between all my devices. So that's why I'm on AirPods. So I can listen to one at a time, and then I can switch between devices in a flash. And I don't have any non-Apple devices, so I don't have to do the whole Bluetooth regular connection thing. Chris, that's why I'm on AirPods. And if you can find something that's fast switching like that I don't have to go through the Bluetooth menu, I'm all ears. But I haven't found any that do it as fast as Apple. Because I do have some wireless Bose headphones that I use for like long trips where I need noise canceling, and it's such a pain to go between devices. And two, I got to sit there. If I have it connected to my iPad, I got to sit there for 20 seconds or 30 seconds while it looks for my iPad that's 300 miles away. And then it says, okay, now what should I connect to? And then I'll tell it to connect to my phone or my laptop. So Apple is just so quick. That's my main thing. I know they've come out with the other earbuds and stuff, and Bose has them now, but just the fast switching is what keeps me what keeps me with AirPods.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, connecting to two devices at the same time. Yeah, I can do that with my Bose. I have it connected to my phone and my iPhone, but again, I'm between anything at any time. My iPhone, my iPad, my iMac, my laptop, any device. Sometimes my daughter's iPad. I'll just say, "Here, take my AirPods and be quiet while I'm in this meeting."
Right.
And they'll flip them over to her. It's just so fast, and then you can't connect it to anything without my Apple ID. So you can't take my AirPods and you have to regular Bluetooth them in, but then I can track them because they're connected somewhere. So that's another bonus. Find My iPhone also works with your AirPods.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. That's enough talk about AirPods.
Wow.
Dave, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Can you describe how we met? You tell it so wonderfully.
Yes.
We're not at that point where we finish each other's sandwiches, but go ahead. Pete wants to know, how did we meet?
We're not at the point where we finish each other's sandwiches.
No.
That's funny. Let's see. How did we meet? Okay. So I started, or should I say, Tommy in the chat and I started this show actually a long time ago. I had I used to be the head production for Geeks Life, and before that, Geek Beat TV, and we had show on Discovery Networks and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, um, and we shut that down, rejiggered some stuff, and I went on my own, and they went on their own, and so I had this idea for Church Training Academy in the back of my head for quite a while, and decided, okay, God, you want me to do this? Then I'll do it. And so I got started, all the while trying to find clients and build up and do stuff like that. So building Church Training Academy has been a very long process. But one of the things I wanted to do right off the bat was do a live show. And at that time, Blab was a new platform that people were playing with. And so I figured, hey, let's play with Blab, see what's going on. So our youth pastor and I started on there, and that's where we met Tommy, who's in our chat, Tommy Willis. And we just started going from there. Over time, Blab fell apart and started doing stuff on Facebook Live, and doing videos on YouTube, and excuse me, building a course here and there, trying to get all this sort of stuff rolling, and trying to build up clientele so that I could continue to feed my family and stuff. And that was my major focus during that time, was making sure that income was really steady. Sorry guys, I've got allergy garbage going on, so please forgive my coughing. Anyway, so that can be a very lonely process, being a solopreneur, trying to build your business on your own when you're sitting here. Let me show you. I'll go back to it. Sitting here, this is my world here, is right in this space, and looking at these two screens and trying to be creative and do all that sort of stuff can get you get tunnel vision, you get distracted, you feel lonely because everybody's out doing stuff and you're in creating and all that. And so I decided I needed to, start a mastermind, do something to where I could get some people on a regular basis that I could talk to. So I reached out to an entrepreneurial friend, Heather Hyman. She does Sweet Tea Social Media. Yeah. Anyway, just
something like that.
Huh?
Something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. We'll put a link to her stuff in the notes, by the way. She's phenomenal. Just releasing her first book. Great gal. Anyway, she and I were talking about putting together a little mastermind, and so we started playing with that idea. And I said, I'm not connected. That was one of the problems that I had, is because I was doing this stuff in the entertainment. Let me get to the two camera. I was doing this stuff in the entertainment space, doing it in the tech media space, gadget reviews, all the technology space. If you follow Leo Laporte and Tech TV and all that sort of stuff, I was in that, in those circles. So I was known in there for being a part of the team and being a creator in that space. And I was connected there. So, I've got, on my phone, I could call people, and say, hey, will you be on my show? Or, can we schedule something or whatever? In the church media space, which is where I was focusing on, I didn't know anybody. I don't know who the players are in the space. And frankly, I'm still learning who the players are in this space, and they're kind of changing and morphing over time, which is interesting. That's one of the things that Justin and I aim to do, is be consistent in this space, and not be, we're here flash in the pan and then we're gone kind of folks. And Heather said, you need to meet Kenny Jang. And so she did an introduction. She said, Kenny is connected with everybody. His connections run really deep, and he's the place to start. So she introduced me to Kenny. He and I got on Zoom for a little bit and talked, and he said, there's this guy, there's a couple of guys that I can think of right off the top of my head. One of them's name is Justin Nava. And you and he are kind of walking down the same road on opposite sides of the street, but you're going in the same direction. Y'all two need to meet. So he did an email introduction between us. And then Justin and I got on a call. Justin took a look at the Church Training Academy website and said, hey, this looks great. I get what you're doing. And I looked at his and I thought, okay, this guy's pretty sharp. And so we got on the Zoom call together, if you'll remember. And it was like a Friday, maybe, something like that. And we talked for about an hour, kind of shared our stories, where we were going. And, let's talk about putting together like a mastermind so we can get a few more people in this space so that we can, lean on each other. And then towards the end of the call, you said, well, there's something I want you to consider. And so I said, okay, what if you and I were to partner up and I was to bring everything I'm doing into Church Training Academy and we focused on this together? And I said, that bears, some consideration. We decided to each pray about it over the weekend, talk with our wives about it, think about it. And so we did. And when I talked to my wife, she said, and I recounted the conversation, she said, yes. She said, this guy's a Christian? Yes. I said, yes. Our doctrine is lines up? Yes. Okay. His wife's a Christian? Yes. Okay. Yes, you really need to consider doing this because you've been depressed. And I said, oh, I've been depressed. That's neat. And so you talked to Jill. How'd that go?
I talked to Bridget.
Excuse me.
And
yeah, Jill had nothing to say about it.
Jill just said, I want Band-Aid. I talked to Bridget. I wouldn't say she comes from an entrepreneurial family, but her grandfather started a store, local shop, and her dad took it over. Her brother ran there. Her dad also did Taekwondo classes. So she comes from an upbringing that wasn't typical of an 8-to-5 job.
Uh-huh.
And as I was in a position working in IT for university to put food on the table during this transition time, because there were no churches in our area where God brought us to, for me to work in, which is my first choice. I had started church marketing school. And in fact, I still I don't have the original site because I updated it, but I still have it. I'm looking through these old blog posts. I'm like, man, I would spend like 3 hours a night just putting a podcast together by myself and a blog post together by myself and a YouTube video by myself. And I had like no more room for anything. You were putting together coursework. And I was like, man, I can't do this. I have no more bandwidth. I need help. And I think you had said the same thing. Like, I don't have any more bandwidth to do anything else. And I said, have you considered doing a partnership or bringing someone else on? Because it's hard to do it by yourself, right? One is the loneliest number.
It is.
So yeah, Bridget said, she was much more why not? He's not crazy, right? That's our only qualification. I think we talked about this.
Yeah.
When we visit a church, the number one priority is the pastor crazy? Because you can be a biblically sound church, but your pastor's crazy. Okay. So he's not crazy. He knows his stuff. He has a history. He's been there, done that with a couple of things that I haven't done. So yeah, why not? We were much more just laid back. Yeah, why not? So and yeah, that's pretty much it. And then there was a big learning curve. I think, as any of you would know, if you bring on a ministry partner or even a new volunteer and you start training them and they start doing things their own way, or why are we doing it this, or even when you work by yourself, you say you're going to do things and no one really holds you accountable if you don't do it.
Right.
There was a couple of times where Dave would say something and I'd be like, hey, you said you would do this. And he'd be like, oh yeah, I changed my mind. I'm sure I did the same thing too. It was kind of frustrating, right? Because you got to learn how to work together.
Sure. So
that's how we met. It was through Kenny Jang. And I remember when I started church marketing school, fun story. I friended Kenny on Facebook and he just started Facebook messaging me like, hey, what's up? Who are you? Tell me about yourself. And
Uh-huh.
I was shopping at HEB with my daughter, and that became an hour and a half long shopping trip because I was not going to make Kenny wait 2 hours for me to reply to him. So I stopped the cart and I'm just texting, and my daughter's like, "You're in the freezer aisle. It's cold." And I pushed the cart out and, "Hey, here's who I am. And here's church marketing school." I was like, "Okay, cool. What do you want to do with it?" "All right, stop the cart. Okay, I'm not going to make Kenny wait." And I kind of just stumbled upon Kenny. I don't know where or how, but I friended him on Facebook, and he just went hog wild, just trying to learn everything about me. And I guess that's how he got a feeling that you and I could and should connect. So yeah, that's how we met.
There you go. And the rest eventually will be history.
Exactly, almost to the month that we started, September 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it has officially been 2 years. I'm going to brag here real quick. Since then, we've tripled just about everything. So we doubled you guys on YouTube. We doubled you guys who are following us on our email list, and following us for free resources and tips and tricks and stuff like that. We hammered down our Facebook group, and that's just been exploding. So it's been some trial, but it has definitely helped us do a lot more for you guys, because apparently you guys like us ever since the partnership. So yeah, it's been great. And church marketing school, I'm glad is gone, because Ryan Wakefield has Church Marketing University, and I was real nervous after I discovered that. After I started church marketing school, I was like, oh man, like not only is he a university, he's been around here longer, and he might get mad at me, but no, he's cool. So I actually did a conference for him, an online conference for him, did a speech. I don't know if you saw on social media, Ecamm, because our talk was over live streaming and specifically using Ecamm Live. And Ecamm saw it. They were part sponsors of the conference. And they actually sent me some swag. So I got a little Ecamm mug and some stickers that are around here somewhere. I already put half of them on my guitar case. So that was a lot of fun. So Church Marketing University, go check them out. That's pretty cool.
Good stuff. All right. So here's a deep probing question. What podcasts are you listening to regularly?
Regularly, man, too many, because my podcast list is ever growing. First of all, kudos to you, Dave. I switched over to Pocket Cast.
Yeah.
I just can't find that perfect app. And Pocket Cast is almost I was using Overcast. The problem with Overcast, I don't know what they're doing. And I know, actually, I think funny enough, I think Kenny talked about this too on one of the Facebook groups. Overcast on iPhone is great. The UI is the best. I love it. The UI was great. However, you don't publish to Overcast. Somehow Overcast is pulling information from the iTunes database into their search feature or whatever. Because you don't publish, like you publish to Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Spotify. Like you have to set those up to have your show appear in their search.
You submit your RSS to them. So
that's the words I was looking for. You don't submit an RSS feed to Overcast.
Man, you don't submit an RSS feed to Pocket Cast either. All you do is search for one, and it just searches. It just searches.
Right. But
for the name.
Somehow the way that Overcast was doing it, the way that was pulling information, was if you scheduled a podcast to be published at a later date, it would still appear in your Overcast playlist.
Interesting.
So every week I'd have, new episode, and I'd click on it and it would not play. And I'm like, I really want to listen to this right now. Why aren't you playing? And it says right there, new episode, and I'd click play. I'm like, man, come on. And I go to the website. I'm like, well, fine, I'll listen to the show on the website, because now I want to listen to it. And the show is not on the website. And I'm like, that's so weird. And then 2 days later, I can finally play it. And the show was published on the website. So I don't know what Overcast is doing. My theory is the reason I couldn't play half my podcast was because they were scheduled to appear later. And somehow Overcast was still getting that from however they pull RSS feeds. So I got frustrated with that. I went to Pocket Cast. I actually paid for it. Dave, did you see it's free now?
It is, yeah.
So I was kind of upset with that. I was like, I don't want to pay for a podcast app. There's so many free ones.
The paying for it gives you some perks now.
Yeah. So I'm glad about that. But anyways, so I'm using Pocket Cast. Let me pull up my podcast here. So I'm all over the place. I listen to a show called Chord Killers with Brian Brushwood and Tom Merritt. You probably know who Tom Merritt is, Dave.
I know both of them actually. They're Brian and I used to We used to shoot some stuff for U2 America, the one of the one of the networks, one of the TV networks, broadcast networks that I do a lot of work for.
Cool.
Yeah, Brian used to come up to the studio all the time, and we'd spend the day on the green screen together.
Cool. He's a character.
Yeah, he's great.
And so I listen to him for Cord Cutter. It's a Cord Cutter podcast because I don't have cable. So they're always talking about what new shows, what new boxes coming out, what new streaming platform, all that stuff. I recently got into, most recently, the Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh, yeah.
I don't listen to every show. I just listen to the people that I know or the topics that interest me.
Yeah.
But it's just really good free-form conversation. I like to watch reality TV sometimes. And so actually, funny enough, I know I said I don't watch CBS. I watch Big Brother, I watch Survivor, and I watch The Amazing Race. So I have Rob Sesternino. He was on Survivor. He has a podcast. It's literally called Rob Has a Podcast. And they talk about Big Brother, Survivor, and all that stuff. So I listen to him. Let's see here. Ben Shapiro's show. I listen to that every few days. I don't listen to every show. I do make it a point to watch the Daily Wire Backstage.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Or listen to those.
Yeah,
those are a lot of fun. Kind of like what it is right now, just kind of free-form conversation. Yeah. Really cool podcast I got into called Cold Fusion. It was like recommended in
I used to develop in Cold Fusion.
Are you still there?
Yeah,
I think I got. Okay, cool.
You there? Yeah, I used to develop.
My
in Cold
FaceTime
Fusion.
went off. So
he didn't even know what Cold Fusion is, folks.
No, I don't.
He's a web developer.
So, oh man, something's happening here. Something's playing in my AirPods. There we go. Okay, my FaceTime went off, and then some music started playing. I have no idea what happened.
Okay.
I need to turn FaceTime off on my computer. So listening to Cold Fusion, it's all about like technology, but it's technology stories. So they told the story like about how I think it's pronounced Huawei, the Chinese phone manufacturer, technology manufacturer. Huawei. There you go. Huawei. The story of Enron, the rise and fall of BlackBerry, how Steve Jobs saved Pixar from bankruptcy. And they're all like 10 or 15-minute episodes. So Cold Fusion, pretty cool. I recently started listening to Social Media Lab with our friend that we met in video marketing world, Scott Ayers. Scott Ayers.
Yeah. Scott, stuff. Which, by the way, Scott works for Agora Pulse. He does a Social Media Lab show for Agora Pulse. And you'll know you're dealing with Scott because he'll be wearing a white lab coat and an orange Justin hair wig. And
it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more than what I have.
And when we met him, it was so funny. I found out he had been a fan of mine for a number of years and knows some of the people that I've worked with. But then come to find out that he knows like half your in-laws.
Yeah. So that was funny because he was like, "Yeah, I'm from Gatesville," and I was like, "Yeah," and I was like the only person, and he's like, "Someone here is from Gatesville," like, whatever. And so I went to go meet him, and I'm just like, "Hey, my name is Justin. I have family in Gatesville," and he's like, "Huh?" And then Dave walks behind me, and he's just like, "Dave Curley," and then I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I'm done talking to this guy." Dave. I thought there was someone that I could relate to that you couldn't. But nope, he knew who you were. Dave's a player, guys. Dave's a player in the industry. Okay, a couple more here. Harmontown, it's a comedy podcast. It's from Dan Harmon, the creator of Community, my favorite TV show, Rick and Morty. It's all right. And a couple other shows that are pretty good. Hey Riddle Riddle is an incredibly inappropriate podcast that I got into. It's a riddle show, but they're also an improv group. And so they'll do something like they'll tell a riddle, and then they'll do an improv based on either an incorrect answer or a correct answer. So there's the famous riddle, a boy gets into an accident. It's easy now. A boy gets into an accident. He gets wheeled into the hospital, and the surgeon says, he gets into an accident. His dad takes him to the hospital. He goes in the OR, and the surgeon looks at him and says, "I can't operate on this boy. He's my son. How is this possible?" Right?
Very
easy. The answer is his mom is the surgeon.
Is the mom.
Surgeon is the mom, right? It was a lot harder 30 years ago, I guess. But anyway, so then they'll be like, "Man, this joke doesn't really work. Let's do an improvisation scene where, I want to see you be, you mistake the boy as your son, but really it's not your son, and you get in an argument with the dad, and you refuse to do the operation, and the kid's in pain or something like that." And they'll do an improv scene, and it's really funny. It's also incredibly inappropriate. I can't listen to it around my daughter, but it's pretty good. If you're a fan of riddles and a fan of improv like I am, I'm a fan of both. That's a really funny show. And then actually that's it.
Okay.
That's the podcast I listen to. What do you got on your deck, Dave?
Let's see. There we go. I got quite a few. These are they. What do I have on here? The Ray Edwards Show. Ray is a copywriter. He's probably one of the best copywriters out there. He's really good, and so on his show he talks about copywriting, talks about entrepreneurship. He talks about life. He talks about spiritual things, all kinds of things. A really good guy. I follow him. Everybody, whether you are a marketer, whether you are an entrepreneur, whether you are a person who likes good conversation, you'll all need to go check out the Ray Edwards Show. He's really good. I also have the Building a Story Brand podcast with Donald Miller. He interviews. He's the guy that did. I don't have the books in the other room. He wrote the book Building a Story Brand, and it's about how to use story to tell your story, to market your products, to promote your business, to promote your church, to do all sorts of stuff like that, using the story framework, and it's extremely effective. I've seen it work time and time and time again, and Justin and I are actually going to be implementing that framework into the church media academy website with my pastor, who is a story brand consultant. I don't remember what the official.
Guide. They're called the guides.
The guides, yeah, he's a guide. So he's like an official guide.
Not guy. Guide.
Guide. Exactly.
For anyone that's about to get offended.
Right. Guide.
Yeah, it's actually I've set a personal goal by the summer of next year to start that process. It's basically their certification.
Right.
But you're called a story brand guide. So it's my goal next year. Actually, just met another web designer yesterday that was also a story brand guide. And so because it's not good enough just to have a design, you also have to have a good message.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that's something that I implement in my sites is that copywriting, that messaging.
Mm-hmm.
But he's actually a story brand guide, and that's a big part of how he designs his site. It's kind of like inspiring. So it's been on my docket for a long time to get this, but I finally said, all right, by next summer, I'm going to have that process started.
Yeah, it's really cool. I got the Video Creators podcast, which is from our buddy Tim Schmoyer at Video Creators on YouTube. And it used to be very YouTube centric, but it is very online video and business centric. Really good, a lot of really good information, good discussions. There is a lot of YouTube specialized talk in there about the inner workings of YouTube. He's a YouTube certified. I don't remember what they call him, a consultant, maybe something. But he's plugged in. He knows what's going on behind the scenes. He's got people that he's connected with there. He interviews engineers, and anyway, it's a really good show. The Ben Settle podcast, which he hasn't done anything new since.
No, he abandoned that like a year ago.
Yeah, I know.
Like he flat out said, "All right, this is it. I'm done. I'm bored of this."
Yeah. Well, I hope he comes back to it at some point.
He's getting into video. He's doing those walking videos.
Yeah.
And he only emails them. I don't even know if you can subscribe to them.
Yeah, no, I get those, and then they're all hidden on his YouTube channel or his Vimeo thing. The Michael Berry Show. Michael Berry is in your neck of the woods. He is a talk show host on KTRH 740 AM in Houston, and does a morning show and a afternoon show. And I believe the afternoon show is the national one, but he's really good. He's a conservatarian, I guess, conservative libertarian, and he and I think a lot alike. So I really love it, and he's extremely talented. If you have ever heard, and just I don't even know if you listen to him.
Nope, never heard of him.
Oh my gosh,
I might have heard of him, but I've never listened to him.
Yeah, he's really good. He did a character, came up with a character 20 years ago called Shirley Q. Liquor. And it's a very a very Medea kind of a character that he came up with.
Okay.
And just radio bits. So, in the middle of his show, Shirley Q. Licker would call up and talk to him, and he'd be jumping back and forth between, a Medea type character and him, a redneck.
That sounds familiar.
Mhm.
I want to say that my mom used to listen to that because
Oh,
I remember
sure.
one time we were in the car. Dude, this is one of those things like I have not had this memory ever, and it's coming back so crystal clear. We were in her green Chrysler car,
Mhm.
and it wasn't a fancy Chrysler. It looked like a Dodge Saturn, whatever Chrysler car that is. And this radio host was talking, and this lady was talking back, and yes, she was kind of like that. She was talking about like whipping her own, like, oh, my husband doesn't do this, and so I'm going to do it myself. And then he's like, no, what's wrong with you? And I don't know what it was. And she was like, something stupid, like she was spanking herself or something.
Right.
And then I was like, what is wrong? I don't know how old I was, 14, 15, 16. And I was like, what is wrong with her? And my mom was like, well, that's him. He's just talking to himself.
Right.
Like, it's what, and I was like, that's talk radio nowadays. Didn't say nowadays, but she was like, no, that's his bit or whatever.
Yeah,
So
it is.
Very well could have been who I was listening to.
It is. He's been around for quite a long time, and the Shirley Q. Licker thing is, it's kind of like, Larry the Cable Guy. Whatever his name, Dan. For the life of me, I can't remember his last name. He was down in Florida, and called. Was listening to. He was working a job, doing something, and called a radio station. And somebody had asked a question. They couldn't come up with an answer, and he's like, they were like, hey, if you got an answer, understand why this is happening or something. So he calls up, this is Larry the Cable Guy, and I just, and he just starts going off on it. It was really funny, and then next thing you know, they've contracted him to like do bits and stuff. So Michael Berry is really big. He's been around for quite a long time. So he does the show gets broken up into episodes and podcast stuff. It's really good. I've got the Sunny Show, Sunny Lenarduzzi's show. I listen to that every now and then. The Social Media Marketing Talk Show, which is from the folks over at Social Media Marketing website, and they or Social Media Examiner. They usually do kind of a roundtable discussion, 2 hosts and then a guest, or they may have 2 or 3 guests throughout the course of the show that come in and talk and then leave, and the next one comes in. It's really good. A lot of good industry information, social media wise. Changes at Facebook, changes at Instagram, advertising, all that kind of stuff. I also do the Social Media Marketing podcast with Michael Stelzner. He's the guy that founded Social Media Examiner. He's a really good guy. I've met him a few times, and he's got a lot of really good insights into the industry. He's been around. He's been doing this since like 2006, 2007, something like that. Blogging with Leslie. That's my buddy Leslie Samuel. He teaches people how to start a blog and grow a business and all that, and basically follow the path that he has followed. He's really, really good. He's also doing a lot of public speaking. I've got the Cliff Ravenscraft show. Cliff used to be the podcast Answer Man, and now is doing. He is like a small version, a very small version, who's rapidly growing, Tony Robbins, which is really cool. Let's see. Podcast report. I have one that I'm going to be starting that I have not started yet. That's really great. I've listened to a little bit of it, but I haven't really gotten into it and made it a daily thing yet. It's called Business Wars. Have you heard of it?
No, but if it's anything like Storage Wars or Shipping Wars, I'm on.
Okay, nothing like that. Here's some of the titles.
Again, I love that's another reality TV that I'm guilty pleasure.
Here's a series inside there. So like 4 or 5 episodes in the series Netflix versus Blockbuster. So it's Business Wars. It's Netflix versus Blockbuster. So the first one in there is called The Digital Divide. The next one is called Dirty Tricks. The next one, Origins. The next one, Sudden Death. And so it's talking about, how what Netflix did and that Blockbuster didn't realize, and why Blockbuster failed. There's there's a lot of them in there for Netflix versus. They got the Nike versus Adidas series in here. They've got Marvel versus DC.
I
They've
could talk
got
on that all day.
Yeah, I know. They've got
I'd listen to that one.
They've got here's an interesting one. They got Monster versus Beats by Dre. Okay, so Monster, the cable company, they make HDMI cables and audio cables and stuff like that. The owned by Noel Lee, who is someone I've known for about 10 years. He came up with the Beats headphones, which are really good headphones. And they got Dre to be a part of developing those and all that. And then that ended up, there was a split in the division like that, and they went off. It was an issue. I remember he and I having pizza one night, and he was kind of explaining all that stuff while he was showing me his new line of headphones, which I have several around here. But really interesting story. The first computer war, IBM versus Univac. So Nintendo versus Sony, a whole series on that. Anyway, it's really cool. Ford versus Chevrolet. Yeah, so it's a really cool. It's called Business Wars. Another one that I want to get into is the Skunkworks podcast, and it is going through the whole Skunkworks project and the developments in the 50s and 60s to do hypersonic flight, and that eventually led up to the SR-71 Blackbird and all this sort of stuff. All kinds of really cool stuff in there. I got the Wolverine podcast on here from Marvel.
Oh,
Have
yeah.
you listened to that?
Fantastic.
Yes. I've got the Glenn Beck show on here. I've got Blackout. Did you listen to that one?
I think I've listened to. Tell me what it is.
It's an audio drama starring Rami Malek.
Okay, no, I haven't.
Yeah.
I thought it sounded like something else, but I don't know.
I got Smart Passive Income show with Pat Flynn. Pat is really good. Let's see. Dave Ramsey. Let's see. And I've got Amy Porterfield's podcast, but I haven't listened to that in quite a while. I've also got the Gary V audio experience, but I haven't listened to that in a while either. Oh, there's one on here also called a Retropod, which is interesting. It's just check it out. It's cool. There's some of these ones that are really professionally done. Like NPR has an entire series of podcasts and stuff that they put out. And what I love podcasting as a platform, I think it's phenomenal, and I love the quality that people come up with and all that. But also the old school purist in me, I guess, doesn't like it when existing media is using the platforms that we created because the existing media wasn't filling our needs. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's it's our playground.
NPR has done some true crime podcasts that I really enjoyed. I can't remember the name of them off the top of my head. But one thing I wanted to close out this section. I don't know if this will be encouraging to anyone, or maybe it's just me, but I listen to a lot of the same podcasts you did. And if you compare your podcast list to my podcast list, you'll see one big difference. Your podcasts are very business heavy, even some news or politics heavy, but I would say very learning heavy, educational heavy. Mine, Cord Killers, Joe Rogan, reality TV, Harmontown, Hey Riddle Riddle, they are very entertainment heavy. And this is because podcasting in my time off is the time for me to relax from work. And I used to listen to a lot of those educational podcasts, but what happened is eventually I ran out of time to rest my brain. And then when I would actually sit down, I'd be so overwhelmed because I just learned all this stuff in my podcast for my 30-minute commute, 60-minute commute. Then I had some more podcasting while I was in the shower, learning more, talking more about work and business. By the time I actually sat down, I'd be like, oh, I need a break. And I'd play my game or watch YouTube. And now I'm wasting actual valuable time just giving my brain a rest. And so I made the decision probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago. What are you showing me here?
That's why I have audiobooks.
Yeah. And I'll get to that too. So I made a decision. I'm going to take off 90% of my educational podcasts, and podcast is going to be a time for me to relax my brain. So I actually do have an hour a day dedicated to education, continuing education, either through training, through watching YouTube videos, through mentorship, anything like that actually dedicate to learning. And then after that, I'm either working or playing. So the podcasts that I am left with are either comedy podcasts, storytelling podcasts, but I'm not really looking to learn something. I'm looking to rest my brain. What I've discovered is I take less breaks while I'm actually working because I've already had that break. It's kind of that thing where it's like, I'm going to work really hard on the weekend, but during football, I'm not doing a lick of work, right? I might make a meal, but that football game is my rest time over the weekend. I will work every other hour, cleaning, building, repairing, errand running, whatever, taking the family somewhere. I will do all that, but I will work hard looking for that break for the football game. And so I will work hard and I will relax my brain during the podcast. And unfortunately, I don't listen to audiobooks because all of my audiobook recommendations are more work. And since I'm already sitting down for an hour, I will grab, I don't have one right next to me, I will grab the book and I will read that for an hour, but I don't want to listen to it while I'm doing something else because that's my relaxed time. That's just where I am in life right now. So I feel kind of guilty too when someone's like, hey, you should listen to this podcast. I'm like, great. I'll read the blog post or the book when they consolidate it and transcribe it and put it out. But I need my podcast as it's my relaxing time. That's my dad comes home and sits down and he watches the Goldbergs. Right. I don't do that. I watch TV while I'm doing the dishes. Right. I don't just sit down. I don't have that affordability right now in my life because of the goals that I have. If you want to do that, that's fine. But my personal goals do not include sitting down in front of the TV for an hour every night. So I'll do it for a couple hours on the weekend during the football game. But
that's cool.
Anyways, that's an interesting distinction there is that your podcasts are very informative, educational, stay up to date. Mine are very just a waste of time. and I don't feel as bad too if I'm doing the dishes and someone bothers me or interrupts me and I'm like, oh great, now I got to rewind because he's talking about something else and building upon a point. I don't have to do that. I'm like, okay, so I missed a riddle. So what? Let's just keep listening. So anyways, fantastic stuff. Question of the day. What have you always wanted to know about me and Dave? I think it's time we wrap it up here. Thank you all for being so interactive in the comments. Fantastic stuff. Next week's show is going to be a controversial one. We had a Facebook post where I talked about my journey visiting churches, and I basically made a post, and a lot of people had some take on it. So we're going to spend some time on it for next week's show. Don't have a title yet, but it's basically going to be about how good preaching isn't the end to attracting new guests. It's not always about good preaching. The other things your church is doing is just as important. Controversial?
Maybe.
Maybe. What you think, what you hold. So thank you guys for watching. Dave, you got anything else?
No, I sure don't. Guys, be sure that you subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything. And come join us over at churchmediahacks.com. That is our Facebook group. I put a video in there yesterday saying, okay, we're not doing the live show in here anymore. And we're doing our live show. And I guess you could say our primary point of content or of video content, the bulk of it, the high level stuff, I guess, is always going to be starting over at YouTube. And then some things that are appropriate will go to the Facebook page and the Hacks group and all that. And then we'll do things more real time in the Hacks group, like you've been doing, Justin. So if you guys aren't in the Hacks group, you need to join the Hacks group. It's our free community that we have over on Facebook. Just go to churchmediahacks.com. Request to join. Answer the questions, because I'm getting to the point now where if I don't see an answer to the question, I tend to not if you're not even going to tell me what you do in the church, I don't want you in my group. It's that simple. And yeah, I said that. I don't want lurkers in there. I want people that are going to communicate, that are going to be a part of the community there. Does that make sense?
Here's the grain. Here's
Mm-hmm.
Dave going across the grain.
Yes. I learned that from Ben Settle.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we will be doing, hopefully by the end of the year, it's on the back burner, but we will be calling out some of the hacks group just to keep it more interactive.
Yeah.
We're gonna kick out some of the people that don't post or don't provide anything. So asking a question, saying I need something, that is valuable.
Oh,
So other people
absolutely.
come alongside and learn from you.
Right.
If you're just gonna sit there and not do anything.
Yeah. I'm curious about that. I mean, I actually myself, I've joined groups that I don't regularly check in on, which means I'm not getting notified when they're doing things in there. There's like this handful of groups that I'm a part of that I go in. If I don't see anything in my timeline, which I generally will, but if I don't, I will jump in there and just kind of check and see what's going on. If I'm not contributing this week or something like that. But and I understand we're all busy. I understand that completely. Justin and I are as well, and we created this community for us and for y'all that are busy. That we're in the church media space. We're in the church space. We're in the we're content creators for church. We are marketers for church. We are communicators for our ministry. We are filling these different roles in our ministry one way or the other. And we need resources. That's number one, why Justin and I made Church Media Academy. That's why and listen, it costs money to join Church Media Academy. What are we charging? $37 a month? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
$37 a month, but just under $400 for a year, something like that. And that gets you into our private group, the insiders group, and gets you into the private or the group coaching mastermind that we do every other week. But we had people that was like, well, I'm just a volunteer, and what's there for me? Well, obviously everything here on YouTube and on our website, but we also created the Church Media Hacks group as a community for folks that we just want to pour into you guys. And we want you guys to pour into us because we don't know everything, and we don't, I know the things that I'm being challenged with at my church. Justin knows the things that he's being challenged with, that he was challenged with at his former church, and that as he gets plugged in with his new one and starts becoming a part of the volunteer squad and different ministry teams and things like that, he'll know what the challenges are there. But those are our circles. That's our immediate thing. You may be going through something totally different. You may have crossed a path that I'm trying to cross, and you know the way over it. So if I ask a question in there, I'm hoping to hear from you. And if you ask a question and I can answer it, I want to be able to be there to answer that question for you, or Justin can, or we've got a couple of moderators in there. By the way, say hi to the moderators. We've got Ryan McGill and Christopher Hall. They are
cool. I didn't know you made Ryan a moderator.
I did. I figured it was time.
Sure.
Yeah,
cool.
Ryan's and here's the way I look at it. By the way, you ready? Okay, you and I, we're the Avengers, right? They're the defenders. Okay, so Ryan's Jessica Jones.
I like it.
I
mean, they could also be like the Great Lakes Avengers, or the West Coast Avengers, or the Young Avengers.
Yeah, or Teen Titans. What?
Oh no, that's DC.
Anyway, but they're there. We're there to help you guys and all that, but we can't do everything in there. So you guys, and there's a good community going on in there, and there's a lot of people. So I really want you guys, if you're in there, ask questions, share things. Okay, because one of the things I love about Chris is he's like me. Throughout the course of the day, he'll see something somewhere else. He'll see a little tutorial, or he'll see an article on something like that, and he's like, you know what, I'm going to share this over there. And that's one of the things that when I started. This is part of my story when I tell it. When I started Church Training Academy, the idea was God had told me, okay, I've built all these skills in you. You've got 20 years of experience doing all this sort of stuff. I want you to now turn around and focus that on the church, okay, and helping to equip the church. Well, all the principles are the same. It's just that we're focused in the niche of the church, right? So, doing a lighting for an interview is the same as lighting for an interview if you work for ABC. It's no different. So we find these things, and Chris finds these really interesting articles and behind the scenes things and things that how does that relate to church? Well, dude, if you're creating content for the church, you're really no different than the guy that works for the agency down the road.
Yep.
It's just that you're doing it in there. So he shares all kinds of great stuff. And I would love to see more stuff like that from the other folks. So if you're in there, don't be shy. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. And I guess
absolutely. James in the chat said, my problem with the hacks group is I don't know what questions to ask. So I watch to get ideas and know where to go next when I get the chance. So a couple of things real quick. If you don't know what to ask in the hacks group or whatever, just my number one question is always, what's your biggest obstacle right now? If you don't have any obstacles right now, then you should be teaching.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's right.
Questions. So that could be anything. That could be I need to buy new cables. What's your budget look like in 2020? How do I present a budget? How do I write a budget? My sliders are sticky. How do I fix them right now? If you have zero obstacles right now, then you need to message me and Dave because you need to become a moderator. But I don't think anyone's there.
You figured it out.
So you figured it out. Teach us.
It's funny though.
And then also too, as you're doing things, just share something. It doesn't have to be a question.
Yeah.
Just, hey guys, I cleaned my sliders today. This is the solution I used. This is what I would do different next time. Go and be healthy and clean your sliders because they're nasty.
Yeah.
Man, you ever have those buttons? Like, we got a brand new digital board, and 3 weeks later, the sub channel buttons were sticking.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, man. Like, and then we didn't know how to clean it.
Sitting there eating sticky buns while he's working the sliders.
Yeah. So James, just share what you're doing. That's always encouraging to other people, and you'll help people by just sharing what you're doing. I just put a picture up. I just said, hey, my church just got this LED screen. I've never seen it in person. Have you? And people were sharing their church's setups and how they run it. Just share what you're doing, sharing what you see. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
it, Dave. Let's wrap it up. We've been going on.
I think we should.
An hour now.
Well, that's it. Thanks y'all for hanging out with us. We love y'all. We'll see you guys in the next video.